Hey everybody, and welcome to this Q&A episode. This is episode 3, so I'd like to say I've been doing this for a long time now, 3 episodes. It's like 3 straight weeks of doing something. Actually, as a matter of fact, it takes about 21 days to establish a habit. So I am right there on that zone to establish a real live habit of doing something. So next week, you can guarantee that I'll fall off track and you'll never see me again. Just kidding. Anyway, I wanted to jump on live today and go through some more of the questions that I've been getting. I get like a million a week, but I try to answer. Usually I have time for about 3 or 4 because I end up on a really long rant or I start telling stories or things happen. And so I can usually get through about 3. If you have any questions you want me to answer next week, as always, just post them in the comments while you're listening and I'll add them to the list. But one of the questions that I wanted to talk about today, and one of the things that I get a lot, and I got this week, was someone said, how come I'm not losing weight? When I'm working out 6 days a week. I'm working out twice a day. I'm only eating 1,000 calories. I'm doing so much, but it's still not budging. It's still not working. And so they're convinced, and this is the problem that we're experiencing in trying to lose weight a lot, is we're convinced that it's the more you do, the more likely it is you're going to get results. And while that seems logical, it's highly improbable that it's actually going to happen that way. Why? Because when we work out too much and we're not eating enough, what happens now is we're doing too much and we're chronically underfed. So as a result, we get stress hormones. Our body thinks we're going to die. And because our body thinks we're going to die, it releases hormones like cortisol that tend to store around the belly fat area. It tends to store fat and keep it so that way you don't, quote unquote, die. Your body thinks you're going into a state of chaos and a state of disarray. And because you're in that state of chaos and disarray, your body needs to protect itself. So it protects itself by not allowing you to shed the weight that it needs to keep on it in order to be healthy and actually survive long term. So if you're in a position where you're working out a lot, where you're not eating very much, you're restricting your calories, you're putting yourself in a place to where you're actually making your progress fall off track and you're putting a huge detriment in terms of your ability to make progress. So what should you do? Well, first step, your nutrition is 90% of your results. So you need to focus on actually eating a diet that's healthy and a diet that's not based on diets, something that gets you in a place where you're not restricting calories and it works and fits and molds with your lifestyle. And so that's step 1. That's 90% of your results. So what does that mean? Step 2, if fitness is 10% of my results, but I'm putting in 6 days a week, twice a day, that equals, hold on, that equals approximately, that equals too much. You're working out way too much in order to get results. And so if you're in this position and you're working out all that, you need to cut it back. If you're working out 6 days a week, twice a day, or you're doing an hour of cardio in the gym, you're putting your body in a horrifying stress state and you're going to get backwards progress or no progress at all. So what do? Cut that in half. Cut it in half. Work out 3 days a week for 30 minutes at the most. Don't do hours of long cardio. That's boring anyway. Don't do 6 days a week because you're putting yourself in a stress state and you're going to make it impossible for you to lose weight. And then when it becomes impossible, you're going to start to fall off track and you're going to start to get unmotivated. Like, why am I even doing this? I'm working as hard as I can and I'm not getting any results. Well, it's because you're putting all that effort in for 10% of the impact. If you really want to lose weight, it starts with your nutrition. So we start with nutrition and we exercise in a way to where it allows us to be mobile. It allows us to get some movement in, but we're not overdoing it to the point to where we start to fall apart and release all these stress hormones. So number 2, the next one I got was, should I weigh myself every day, or how often should I be weighing myself? And I think this is pretty subjective on the person, but from what I've seen with everybody I've worked with and everybody I've been around is at the most, you should be weighing yourself in once a week. Once a day is way too often because you're going to get fluctuations up and down on a daily basis that aren't based on what your true weight is. We need an average over time to be able to understand what our true weight is. So if you weigh in every day, it's going to make you a little neurotic and it's going to put you in a place to where you just feel like your progress isn't ever there. And you're going to get this continual flux of bad thoughts about yourself every day when you don't see the weight going down. Like, we get in that we want to see like a pound lost a day, and it's not going to happen. You're going to see it go up and down, but over time, over a period of like 5 to 7 days, you might see 2 pounds come off, and that's what we want. So we want to be able to monitor it in a way to where it allows us to see an overall average over a period of time, but not necessarily how much weight you lost in like one day, because that's not a true estimate of our progress over time, and it's not going to put you in a good headspace to want to keep moving forward. It's going to get you really discouraged. So I would say at the most, weigh yourself in once a week, take the once a week If it's between 1 and 2 pounds, that's pretty safe. That's pretty effective. You're in a good place. If you lost like 20 pounds in a week, you got to be careful because that could come right back on. And then over the course of 4 weeks, average it out. So how many pounds per week did I lose? If I have about a 2 pound per week average or even a 1 pound per week average, I've now created a sustainable weight loss solution. Now that's from my perspective and from the probably 10,000 people we've worked with. If you talk with someone who's selling you shakes, voodoo, or magic tea, or CBD oil that's going to revive your best friend's dog that died, well, they're going to tell you that you should lose 800 pounds in a week and it should be easy. And as long as you keep drinking this magic tea or rubbing CBD oil on your elbows, it's going to keep working forever. But that's not how it works. That's what people tell you when they want you to want to sell you something, when they want you to get you addicted to whatever it is that they have. Like, hey man, you got that fix? I really need some more of that magic tea. Hey, I need to put that CBD oil on my neck. I heard if you put it right here on your aorta, it really, or your sternocleidomastoid, I heard that's the spot that really makes it stick for the weight loss. But that's like voodoo. That's not what we're trying to look for in weight loss. We're just trying to put ourselves in a place where we have an actual philosophy that's going to get us results and sustainable results that don't get us addicted to magic tea, pills, weight loss shakes, the thing that you wrap around your belly or whatever else it is. So the next question I have is, I'm super stressed out all the time. Will that impact my weight loss and overall health? Yes. Stress is probably one of the biggest primary impacting agents that forces us to be in a position to where we release stress hormones. We don't sleep as well. And then what happens when that happens? Well, we release hormones that tell our body to eat more. We release hormones that tell our body that we are basically falling apart. And those stress hormones get stored as fat, and they get stored inside in the belly area where you can't get rid of it. And you get that tire tummy, or you just feel blah. You feel like you're overwhelmed, you're overworked. You can't accomplish as much as you want to do. And every day you're in this negative headspace. And so that puts you in a stress state, and that stress state forces you to not lose weight as effectively or as efficiently, because your body thinks you're in a chaotic state. Your body thinks you're going to die based on evolution. So it's trying to protect you by releasing these hormones that are trying to quell the stress that's going on in your body. So if you're in a super stressed out state and you're super stressed out all the time, you have to take a step back and really become mindful of what you're stressed about and why you're stressed about it. Because one of the biggest things that we don't pay attention to when we're stressed is being mindful of it. Like, why am I stressed? What in this current point in time, what in this current state is going to carry on with me for the rest of my life? In 10 years now, will this matter? Is my current state something that I can control? Am I stressed out about coronavirus in somewhere in Tahiti? Can I control that? No. Am I stressed out? I live in Reno. Am I stressed out about coronavirus in New York? No. Why? Because I can't control it. I can't fly down there, have a couple of beers with Mr. Cuomo and talk shop about how we're going to solve it. I can pretend and do all those things like these magical experts on the internet are doing right now, but I can't control the outcome of what's going on there. I can't control the outcome of what could happen at work. I can't control the outcome of things that are beyond my sphere of influence. So if that's what's stressing me out, I have to shift gears and stop and say, hey, is that something I can control right now? No. Okay, well then I'm going to give myself permission to move on and stop worrying about it, because it's not something I'm ever going to be able to control. And if you still can't move on, you have to stop and say, will this matter 10 years from now? Does this impact the safety of me? Does this impact the safety of my family? No. Okay, I'm going to give myself permission to move on. There's no reason to be stressed out about these things. And if it's something like coronavirus right now and you're super stressed about that, you have to turn off the outlets that are building that stress. The news media, they want you to believe that the entire world is ending and there's an asteroid named Corona that's about to hit us. We're about to get hit with Rona asteroid. Rona asteroid is about to take us all out, is what the news media wants to tell you every day. They have their little tickers up there that show like 800,000 cases in the US. Everybody's falling apart. The whole world is ending. Everybody, we have to get underwater caverns to get away from it all. So you have to turn those outlets off. There's blogs. I see a blog every day that gets sent to me about how this whole thing's cataclysmic and everybody's going to end and the whole world's going to stop. That's an outlet that I choose not to accept. So I don't watch the news. I don't read these dumb blogs that people are putting out, because none of this is true. None of this is an environment that I can control. And all it does is perpetrate an atmosphere in my mind of stress, and it builds stress. Like, oh, am I going to be safe? Is my family going to be safe? All these things. So you have to choose to turn those outlets off and understand that the only things you can monitor and the only things you can deal with are the things that you can control in your sphere of influence. What can I control? I can control my attitude, my safety, and the safety of my family. That's it. I can't control anything else that happens in these spheres and ecosystems. So if I'm stressed out about that, I have to remind myself that I can't control that, and I have to give myself permission to move on. So then the last question that I got was, how do I find time when I don't have any available to get healthy? So I think what happens here is a lot of people say, well, I don't have time to do that. And that's an incomplete thought. And so what does that mean? Well, that means that they haven't thought out what they just said. It's a scapegoat. Yeah, we're all busy. Yeah, we have a lot of things going on. I'm on the phone all the time. I'm always talking to people, but I still find time to make my food. I still find time to cook. I still find time to spend time with my family. I still find time to do the things I want to do, to exercise, to do all these things. Why? Because I've created a priority in my life to where I understand that I can fit it in there. I'm not going to use time as a scapegoat because it's an incomplete thought. It doesn't make sense. So if you say, I don't have time to do that, my next question to you is, what do you mean by that? And then you're going to tell me, well, I have this, this, and this, and this going on. Okay, so you're working a 14, 15-hour day? Yeah. Okay, well, what happens at this point? What happens at this point? What do you do when you wake up? What do you do when you get home? When's your lunch hour? How much time do you spend watching Netflix on a daily basis? How much time do you do all these things? And so once we start to understand that thought doesn't really exist as a complete thought in someone's mind, we can understand that the context behind not having time is the context of, I haven't created a priority in my mind, and I don't have an organized enough schedule to understand how I could create efficiency. So a lot of people, and I see this on LinkedIn a lot, and I think it's funny, but I see a lot of people say, I'm too busy for that. I'm too busy to talk to you right now. And so I just think, wait, number one, you're messaging me. So obviously this is an incomplete thought that doesn't make sense. But number two, busy is an object of not being efficient. It's a product of inefficiency in life. It's a product of inefficiency in your ability to carry yourself forward. So if you want to create the time to be healthy, well, then you have to stop prioritizing ROI or prioritizing what the other things are and start prioritizing your health. And I'm not saying this is something you have to do. You're not a bad person if you don't want to prioritize it, but you have to put that in your mind. It's not that I don't have time to get healthy. It's that I don't have time to prioritize it. I'm not organized enough to understand how to prioritize it. I'm so busy in my life right now because I'm not efficient. I haven't created an atmosphere to where I can have some breathing room. And when you look at this, the most successful people in the room do have time. They have time to read. They have time to sit down for a minute. They have time to eat. They have time to do these things because they've created efficiencies in their life to allow them to not have to work as much as someone who says they work a 15-hour day. And typically a 15-hour day doesn't mean you work 15 hours. It means you're working 4 or 5 hours. And then a lot of that time is spent just kind of in nowhere land. We don't recognize or realize what's happening. So if you're in this position, what I would encourage you to do is write out your day. Take a whole week and write out everything you do from the moment you wake up till the moment you go to bed. Write out everything that happens, the time zones that happen, and you're going to be surprised and probably shocked at the amount of time that you waste just doing random tasks that don't even make sense, that aren't built into your day, but that you kind of just fell into. So that's what happens when you don't have time. It's not that you don't have time. That's an incomplete thought. The thought doesn't make sense because the thought isn't necessarily a real thought yet. It's a thought that just comes out. It's blurted out because it's something we need to say in order to avoid the reality of the situation. And so and I'm not saying you're good or bad for not wanting to do this. I'm saying if this is something you do want to do, but you really don't think you have time, well, it's time to find priority in your life, and it's time to create efficiencies that are going to allow us to actually create the time. So you have to identify where the time went, where the time is, what you're spending it on, and if you're wasting it, and if you're inefficient. And I would say 95% of the people out there are incredibly inefficient in their time management because they don't know. And so all you have to do is become aware. And once you become aware, then you can change it. And once you can change it and you're cognizant of it, well, now you are the captain of your fate. You own your time, you own your domain, and you own the capabilities of being able to do this or not be able to do this. So that's all I got to say today. Those are my questions for the day. There was 4 of them. Hope y'all enjoyed this. I really like this segment. If you have questions for me that you want me to answer in next week's episode on Wednesday, post them in the comments. Don't be shy. Just post them. Watch. You just go like this. Like I have a keyboard here, and I go like this. Question for Chandler. What kind of shampoo do you wear? Oh, do you put on your hair? Well, I like Banana Boat, and I like the smelly one that smells like bananas. So that's how easy it is to type a question in there. All you have to do is that, and then I'll answer your questions, and you'll get your stuff answered. I'm here to help, here to make sure that we can make this world a better place, build a culture of care, get rid of the idea that diets and pills and voodoo and magic tea and CBD oil run our lives, and move us into a place where we know that we can control our destiny and get to a place where we can be as healthy as we want to be in our mind, our body, and our habits. All right. See ya.